I've been wanting to take more outdoor time lapses with my pocket-sized cameras, but there's one big problem. You need some way to set them up in position. And I really don't want to carry a full-sized tripod everywhere. So instead I thought, why not just use what's already around me, like trees, railings, and poles, and just wrap a flexible tripod around them. Now, I actually have this old Joby GorillaPod 1K lying around, and I was just going to use this. But before dusting it off, I wanted to see if there was something better out there. That search led me to the Ulanzi MT-11 and MT-33, both popular and cheaper alternatives to the GorillaPod that I see mentioned a lot. So I picked up the MT-33, which is basically the MT-11 with a cold shoe mount, and decided to put it head to head against my GorillaPod to see which grips better in real world use. But before I get into the tests, I want to make one thing clear. I don't think flexible tripods make good general purpose mini tripods. They're often marketed as all-in-one solutions, but those bendy legs make it surprisingly tricky to get them standing straight, which is exactly why my GorillaPod has barely seen the light of day until now. So in this comparison, I'm going to be laser focused on how they perform when wrapped around things in the environment, because that's the one job I need it to do well. If it can also work as a tabletop tripod in a pinch, that's just an added bonus for me. Now with the MT-33 specifically, I ran into 3 specific design flaws that make me think the GorillaPod is the slightly better overall pick, which I'll talk about after the tests. So let's talk about one major difference in these tripod designs, which is how they grip onto surfaces. The Ulanzi primarily relies on friction-based resistance, which means its grip depends on how tightly the legs can hug the surface and maximize contact area. Ideally, you want these smooth legs pressed as closely as possible against the curve of whatever you're wrapping it around. That design made it perform well in my lamppost test. The legs could wrap snugly along the pole, and the pole's rougher texture also helped. The GorillaPod, on the other hand, uses rigid ball and socket joints that dig in at each contact point. Instead of one continuous grip, you get multiple small bite points that grab the surface. That makes it much better for irregular edges or thinner objects where the MT-33 just can't stay fully flush. Unlike this GorillaPod, which can basically clamp down thanks to the stiffness of these joints. So which flexible tripod is better? Well, it can depend heavily on what you're trying to attach it to. That means neither of them are perfect, but if you ask me to pick one, I'd probably go with the GorillaPod, and that's because I ran into 3 design flaws in the MT-33 that bothered me. One thing that really bothered me with the MT-33 was how easily it would slip on smoother surfaces like metal railings or laundry poles. Check this out, even without a camera mounted, the friction alone is enough to counter the torque from the ball head's weight and angle. By comparison, the GorillaPod was able to stay much more firmly in place on these same smooth surfaces. Now luckily, this issue doesn't show up on vertical poles like a lamppost. In this orientation, the camera's weight actually works in your favour. It creates a slight hooking effect that reinforces the grip instead of pulling it loose. The second major flaw is too much flex. While researching, I saw a video from the channel Have Camera Now What that really highlighted this problem. On his trip to Morioka, just the wind was enough to make his camera wobble on the MT-33, leading to shaky footage. Now if you're using an action cam or a 360 camera with heavy image stabilization, it won't be an issue, but the whole point of a tripod should be to provide stability and not require your camera to correct for it. And you can see why this happens. The legs on the Ulanzi have a lot of give. Just a little pressure creates this noticeable bouncing effect. The GorillaPod, with its stiffer ball joints, doesn't really suffer from this problem. It's just a fundamentally more stable platform, which is what you really want from a tripod. The final flaw has to do with the ball head. The Joby GorillaPod has a ball head with a panning base. That means when you loosen the knob, it unlocks both the ball and the base. That gives you complete freedom to adjust how the camera is mounted. With the MT-33, the base is fixed, so there's no way to reorientate the cutouts relative to the feet. Here's where that becomes a problem. Let's say I've already set the tripod up, but the cutout isn't positioned to let me mount the camera completely horizontal. If I try to turn the base to fix it, the base starts loosening and unscrewing from the tripod itself. With the GorillaPod, the panning base means I can position it just how I want, then tighten the knob to lock everything into place exactly where I want it. So while the GorillaPod isn't perfect, the fact that it avoids the 3 flaws of the Ulanzi MT-33 makes it, in my opinion, the better overall pick. Just keep in mind, I've been testing the smaller GorillaPod 1K, which is designed for action or compact cameras up to 1 kg and has shorter legs than the MT-33. If you're using a heavier camera or need to wrap around thicker objects, consider stepping up to the GorillaPod 3K or 5K, which support up to 3 kg and 5 kg respectively, and offer longer legs, which mean they will achieve a better wrap around thicker objects like lampposts and trees.